All right, welcome. Today, we're going to dive into the incredible journey of how academic skills develop. We're going to trace how their really complex abilities for math, reading, and writing are built piece by piece, right from the very beginning. So, let's get into it.
So, you might be wondering, how on earth does a baby's clumsy grasp turn into a writer's flowing script? Or how does a simple game of peekaboo actually lay the groundwork for solving algebra? It seems like a huge leap, right? Well, today we're going to uncover that blueprint step by step. So, here's our game plan. First, we'll explore the mathematical mind. Then, we're going to follow the path from just hearing sounds to understanding stories. After that, we'll look at the craft of writing, and to wrap it all up, we'll see how these skills are all woven together. Okay, first up, math. And it's so much more than just crunching numbers. It's really about seeing patterns, understanding space, and thinking logically. And these skills, they start developing way, way before a child ever sets foot in a classroom. You can see this clear path, right? It all starts with those very basic sensory experiences in infancy, and it builds all the way up to the kind of complex, abstract thinking you need for higher level math. So get this, the very first building block for math, it's not even a number. It's this idea of object permanence. I mean, when a baby finally understands that a toy you've hidden under a blanket still exists, that is a monumental leap for their brain. It's the very beginning of understanding that things, or quantities, exist and can be thought about even when they're not right in front of you. And then, this really cool thing starts to happen. It's called subitizing. You know when a toddler just knows there are 3 crackers on their plate? They don't have to go 1, 2, 3. They just see it and they know it's 3. That's a huge step from just reciting numbers to having a real intuitive number sense.
And wow, this slide just perfectly illustrates the massive cognitive shift that happens later on. In middle childhood, math is concrete, it's tangible. The 3 in 34 means 3 tens or 30. You can picture it. But in adolescence, thinking gets abstract. Now, x isn't a specific number, it's a variable, a symbol for something unknown. That right there, that's the leap to algebra.
Okay, let's switch gears and see how a really similar progression happens with reading. Because reading isn't just about knowing your letters. It's a journey that starts with the ears and ends with the ability to analyze and even question really complex ideas. And just like with math, the path to reading is just as clear. It kicks off with a baby's sensitivity to the rhythm and sounds of language, and it grows all the way into an adolescent's ability to critically think about some pretty sophisticated texts. Okay, here's a super important point, so I want you to really grab onto this. Reading begins with the ears, not the eyes. Before a kid even knows what the letter A looks like, their brain is tuning into the sounds of language, like rhymes and syllables. This phonological awareness is one of the absolute strongest predictors of whether they'll be a good reader later on. It's that important. Look at how these pieces fit together. It's like building with Legos, one skill stacking right on top of the next. A child first hears that cat and hat rhyme, then they learn what the letters look like. Then they can isolate the individual sounds, C, A, T, and finally they connect those sounds to the letters. It's just a beautiful, logical progression.
So what's going on here? Why this massive jump in reading speed? Well, it all comes down to a word, automaticity. Basically, the brain gets so good and so fast at just seeing the words that it doesn't have to work hard on decoding anymore. And that frees up all this mental energy to actually think about what the story means. And this is the ultimate goal. This is where reading becomes a superpower. In adolescence, it completely transforms from learning to read into reading to learn. It becomes this incredible tool for not just understanding the world, but for questioning it, for figuring out an author's bias, analyzing their purpose, and really thinking critically. All right, now for our third skill, writing. And this one is a really complex dance, isn't it? It's a mix of fine motor skills, knowing the language, and organizing your thoughts. We're about to go from a toddler's scribbles all the way to a high schooler's persuasive essay. So the writing journey really starts with the physical, a baby developing the motor skills to just hold a crayon. From there, it moves to that huge cognitive leap of understanding that these marks can actually have meaning. Then comes mastering the rules of writing, and finally, developing a unique voice and style.
This part is so cool because you can literally see a child's brain developing right there on the page. That random scribble slowly becomes an intentional letter-like shape. Then comes the most important word in their world, their name. And then my favorite part, invented spelling. It's not a mistake. It's a sign that the child is actively using what they know about letter sounds. It's brilliant. And this just shows it perfectly. When you see a young child write KT for cat, that's not an error. That tells you they can hear the beginning K sound and the ending T sound. That's amazing. The shift to the conventional CAT shows they've now learned the rules. Both stages are totally crucial. By the time we get to adolescence, writers have this amazing toolkit at their disposal. They can build a logical argument, they can play with different sentence structures to create an effect, they develop their own personal style, and they can engage with other people's ideas through research and citation. Writing becomes this incredibly powerful tool. Okay, so for this last part, let's pull all these threads together. Because as you've probably figured out by now, these skills don't just develop in their own little bubbles. A strong reader is very often a strong writer, and both of those connect back to mathematical thinking. Just look at these everyday examples. Think about a classic math word problem. You have to read carefully to understand what's being asked. Then you have to do the math to find the solution. And often, you have to write out your steps to explain how you got there. See? Reading, math, writing, all in one task. They're intertwined everywhere. And really, it all boils down to this one powerful idea. Mathematical, reading and writing skills develop interdependently. That's the key takeaway here. When you strengthen one of these skills, you create a ripple effect that helps strengthen the others. They all grow together. So, what does this all mean for you as a future educator? Why does this all matter? Well, it's huge. Because when you understand this developmental web, you can become a much more effective teacher. You can design a math lesson that secretly strengthens reading skills, or a writing activity that reinforces logical thinking. You'll be teaching the whole child, not just isolated subjects. Look, this isn't just a collection of interesting facts. It's a blueprint for how learning happens. So the question I want to leave you with is this. As a future professional, how will you take this developmental blueprint and use it to build better, stronger, more confident learners?